So hi everyone, so welcome to the one and only most amazing Breakthrough Conference. So this is a really a special session that we're going to have together. So in this session, we're going to experience a couple of amazing things together. We have a whole array of international speakers, coaches from around the world who's going to tune in for this special workshop. This series, it's really a special one. Because we are bringing together different people from different parts of the world with different cultures, backgrounds, experiences, and also a whole array of knowledge and practical tools to help you on your coaching journey, as well as to help individuals who are just exploring what coaching is about and how they can help you. So without further ado, let me welcome and introduce the entire team of coaches that we have today. First up, we have Gloria. So Gloria is a life coach and psychologist, and she's based in Colombia. So let's give a round of applause to Gloria. Okay, the silent applause.
Hi, yeah. So happy to be here and welcome everybody. And we're gonna just enjoy so much this session.
Yeah. So Gloria, would you like to share with us a little bit background of yourself and what you do in Colombia?
Okay, yes, I have a company in Colombia called School of Life, Escuela de Vida, and it's focused on creating trainings and spaces to give more tools to improve our life, to create more peace, happiness, freedom, abundance in our life by taking outside of our mind all the barriers and learning how to find more emotional healing. And so it's focused on all these tools that can help us really get more connected with our inner power. So I studied psychology, and also I have studied coaching and NLP, and all these also mindfulness tools that help us to train our minds and take our life to another level. So really live the life we're meant to live. So yeah, that's my passion, and I'm so happy to be here because I feel that what inspires me most is to share with people what I have learned and what I keep learning, because I think life is a journey where we never stop learning, and also all that I have learned with the beautiful people life have put in my life to grow with them and to give them tools and to learn from them. So here I'm going to share some of that learnings and experiences, and also with these beautiful coaches. They're so great. Like, I'm very happy that we can join with this intention.
Well, thank you, Gloria. So you're going to hear more from Gloria because, having met Gloria, I tell you, she has a beautiful soul, and she is making, a great impact all over Colombia today. Now, let me introduce our second coach on our panelists today. We have none other than Blake. So everybody give a round of applause to Blake, a silent round of applause. And I'm going to invite you.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah. So, brother, can you share with us a bit more about you?
Okay. Yes. Well, I'm very thankful and grateful for everyone joining in. And so, as you guys know, I'm partners with Jedi here in Jedi Blake International. So yeah, I've been coaching for a while, and really what I specialize in is providing massive breakthroughs for people, right? Moving forward and really giving them and teaching them the science of letting go, right? The art and science of letting go. And also, I started out with peak performance, right? Coaching people, athletes, with peak performance and allowing them to really get into an excellent state before they compete, right? So I look forward to what we're going to share with you today, and I'm sure you guys will have a lot of value at it.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Blake. You're going to hear some amazing things from Blake. He has an amazing story to share and lots of amazing experiences. So we have a special lineup with none other than Kai. Let us introduce Kai. So Kai, for those of you who don't know, he's residing now in Germany, and me get him to share a little bit more about him. Okay, just a moment, Kai. I think you got to unmute.
Unmute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. Can you hear me? My audio is on.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so welcome from Germany, the sunny part of the world right now. And my background is I was former police officer long years ago. After that, I was long years in sales business, so I know NLP from the sales side of it. And I was conducting sales seminars and giving sales trainings. And now I'm also NLP trainer, life kinetic trainer, which is brain training by movement. So we have a lot of special exercises to train the brain. And I'm really specialized on all of that brain stuff. How can you use your brain? How can you use your brain faster? And how can you extend the abilities of your brain and your body? So this is where I match with Blake, Jedi, and the others. And we met in Portugal, and I'm very happy to be here now with you.
Oh, wonderful. So thank you, Kai, for just sharing with us something amazing. And for those who don't know, Kai has been, teaching NLP for the past 2 decades, at least, or more. Yeah. So now, one of the most amazing things is this, right? It's a privilege for us to really bring in different people from different parts of the world. And why we're doing this is because we want to send a message to people from around the world, whatever they're going through. We want to be able to help them and give them practical tools to help them transform their lives, as well as to help coaches and empower coaches from around the world with strategies and practical tools that can really transform lives. So, without further ado, let us begin our very first breakthrough session for this month. So, during the entire session, this is what's going to happen. If you have any questions, or if you have any burning thoughts or comments, or if you want to ask a question, feel free to put your questions in the chat box, and we will be there to answer them during the Q&A portion. So how it's gonna run is this, right? We're gonna start off by sharing some insights about the art and science of letting go, and we're gonna open up for the panel discussions, and then towards the end we're gonna allow for Q&A. That's when all the participants are invited to come and have a time to interact with the coaches. And if we have time, we're gonna do a live coaching intervention right here in this seminar. So this is the only place you can experience a live coaching intervention where you can see how a coaching session is being demonstrated, applying the tools and techniques that we're going to cover here in the class, and hopefully you can use this in your life, in your coaching practice, or in your training practice as well. So welcome once again to Break Free, the art and science of letting go. Now, in this series, what's going to happen is that throughout the entire year, the theme of this year is about breaking free. We will have subtopics, and this month's topic is on art and science of letting go. So what happens is that breaking free, it's a global movement to create positive and uplifting transformative change for individuals and organizations. Breaking the chains that binds and setting the bounded free. So what we want to do is to break free of the limits and be limitless. So hashtag break free. So that's really the movement that we're on as a global family here. We want to inspire the world. We want to change the world. We want to help people to lead a more uplifting, positive life. So just a little bit about the coaching experience. For those of you who are wondering, what's a coaching experience like? So there are 2 parts. First, on the personal mastery level, that's when we talk about the NLP Practitioner programs, the NLP Master Practitioner, and we have a quantum neuroengineering practitioner program that are exclusive to our members only. We also have a conversational mastery. So it's important in the entire life journey. We have 2 kinds of mastery. One is the personal and one's conversational mastery. Now, conversational mastery is a skill that won't expire even with the rise of the industry 4.0 or 5.0. So we have coaching tools such as Mastering Coaching, Big Performance Coaching, and Transformative NLP Coaching. So for those of you who are wondering when our upcoming dates and when you can see us, right? So do lock these dates down. Our next NLP Practitioner is going to happen in Arizona on 5 weekends. So just tune in for us for more. We're going to run one in Singapore, another in Colombia, and in Germany. So for our coaching program, we're going to have one from the 5th to 8th October in Arizona. And in Q4 of this year, we're going to run one in Germany as well. So stay tuned for more dates, and be sure to check out our Facebook for the latest updates. Okay, so let's begin, right? Something really exciting. So we're going to start off by sharing a little bit about the art and science of coaching before we bring the panelists in for them to share their own experiences as well as their strategies about helping us to let go of certain things that's holding us back. So let's ask this question, right? When we see this picture over here, what comes to mind? So because this is a really interactive session, so what you can do, you can unmute yourself or you can share in the chat box, when you look at this picture, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Anyone? Don't be shy.
Jedi, when I look at this picture, I think of peace and tranquility, right?
Yeah.
Just freedom within the mind, right? Within inside myself, right? So and it really relaxes me, right? And I relate it to my life of just appreciation for nature and for where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Blake. Anyone else?
Yes. What I feel when I see that picture is presence. It's like being in the here and now and letting everything be exactly as it is, like not trying to change anything, just accepting, surrendering to the present moment. And water, that for me it's a symbol of flowing, like letting go and just like following the signs of life.
Wow. Okay, so we have one more. Who else would like to share what you're seeing from this picture?
This is about good photography.
Okay.
The eye for the nature.
Yeah. Good photography and high for nature. Okay. Well, when we see this picture, right? If you show this same picture to 10 different people, you get 10 different answers. And that's something interesting, right? Why is it that when we see the same picture, we are seeing the same thing, but the way we interpret the pictures are all different? The same experience, the same event, but the way we represent this picture in our minds and the meaning that we give it are all different. Well, this is something interesting about the human nature or the human mind. One of the most misunderstood and one of the most understudied subject is the subject of the human mind. In school and in our growing years in pedagogy and andragogy, we study about how to learn and how to teach people to learn, but we really have never uncovered how we operate as a human being. And what's interesting to note is this, right? All of us may have the same pair of eyes, but what we see are all different, right? What we see are all different. So that's kind of interesting. Why is that so? Why is it that when we see the same image, but we all interpret differently? Well, that has something to do with the way we represent the world and the way we give meaning to the world. So welcome to the hidden art of psychology, right? So in a while's time, what we're going to do is we're going to show you and explain to you the science behind the what and the artistry behind the conversation. And hopefully through this whole experience, you gain some practical tools and to help your coaching experience as well as to use them for yourself in your own life. So welcome to the Break Free, the art and science of letting go. Right, this is one of the most exciting topic ever, and one of the topics that many people have asked me over the last many years. How do I actually let go? Is there a science to it? Is it an art, or is this something else? Well, if you look at this is what happens, right? I like to look at the whole spectrum as what we call the freedom spectrum. So there are two parts actually in this whole spectrum. On one side, you have what we call things that are holding us back. And on the other side are things that we're trying to let go of. So to experience freedom, we are always torn in two directions. What the things that are holding us back in the past, and the things we're trying to let go so that it can move us for the future. So how do we overcome all these things? So think about this, right? When we hold back something, when things are holding us back, that's what I call feardom, right? When we let go of things, that's freedom. So in the domain or in the kingdom of fear, right, that's when we begin to hold back things, we begin to allow defeat to happen, we begin to allow bondage to happen. But when we let go of things, we begin to experience freedom, we begin to experience tranquility, we begin to experience a kind of breakthrough that we never quite experienced before. So one of the things that when we look at in the realm of feardom, the notion of being bounded, the notion of being chained, the feeling of being limited, the feeling of being degenerated or destroyed happens. But on the other spectrum of letting go, that's when chains are loosed. That's when we become limitless. That's when we are rejuvenated, we are reinvigorated, and that's when we become creative. So when we talk about the creative potential of an individual, that is the state when we are in the state of letting go, the state of freedom, the state where we can, totally let everything go and not let anything hold us back from our true potential. So this will set the frame of how we understand the science that goes behind the what of letting go. So let's ask this question, right? How many of you, by the show of hand or in the comment section below, have things that is holding you back today? Right, so feel free to chat in the chat box below, or just raise your hands or unmute the chat box. How many of you have things that's holding you back today? Okay, yep, that's hands raised, right? So if you're not sure how to raise your hands, just go over to the participants button and you can just press hands raised. Yeah. Now, when we think about holding back, right, one of the greatest challenges is, right, how do I break free from those chains? And we realize that when we hold back, something else happens. We cannot achieve our fullest potential, and we cannot, move ahead of time. And we feel that we're struggling constantly. So today we're going to experience what we call the art and science of breaking through this experience, and we're going to learn how we can practically let go of things that's holding us back. So let me show you this, right? What can you see here? What do you see here?
So I see energy.
Energy? Yeah, energy.
Look at
Okay.
anyone else?
Anyone else? What do you see here?
Well, I see expansion, I see opportunities, like new beginnings, like when you're like moving in a cycle that is opening up more, so you're getting out of your comfort zone.
Okay. Well, it's actually a really simple picture. It's just a sun, right? When we see life, we want life to be bright, sunny, and we want life to be uncluttered, unhidden at all. But sometimes in life, there are things that seem to hold us back. There are things that seem to cloud our sunshine, right? We wish for the sun to shine all the time, but sometimes there are clouds that come in. And what happens are, these clouds begin to come in like this. The first cloud is something negative, right? It begins to flow in. And I call this first cloud the negative thoughts or beliefs that begin to cloud the sunshine. And the sky suddenly becomes darkened. Right, so the sun is still shining, but there's a little cloud that comes in that seems to cloud that the fullness and the glory of the sunshine. And the first thing that happens into our minds are this thing called negative thoughts and negative beliefs. The second cloud that comes in is this, which makes the sky darker. Are things what we call the negative emotions. So, the negative emotions come in, and begin to cloud, and make the sun rays go darker. Now, as the sky becomes darker, now we feel overwhelmed by it. And the third cloud comes in. This time, because of the negative beliefs and thinkings, and because of negative emotions, the negative behaviors arise. And only a little sliver of light is able to penetrate through the light this time, penetrate through the sky this time. And that gives us a little hope. But however, when negative thoughts come in, reinforced by the negative emotions, and accumulated with the negative behaviors, something else is added to the picture, which makes the entire sky dark. And that is our inner conflict. Right? And when inner conflict comes in, it darkens the entire sky. And when the entire sky is darkened, now we can't see the light. And we can't see the light, we ask ourselves, is there hope anymore? Is there hope for the hopeless? Is there a chance for me to get out of this, of this rut? So that's when most of us are struggling, because of all these clouds that are coming in. And in fact, there are a lot more clouds that are laid upon this, right? So with all these clouds, how do I begin to let the sun shine in once again? How do I begin to let go of all this and live a let go life? Because if all these things are holding me back, I cannot experience the fullness of the sunshine. So think about this, just like plants, they require the nourishment from the sun. We as human beings as well, right, require a nourishment from the sun or the energy source in our lives. So the first step is really to begin our journey to removing each of these clouds. Right? So imagine this. If we can change the negative thoughts and belief first into positive ones, we begin to see a little ray of light that shines through the clouds. Right? The sky suddenly becomes not as dark as it was. And when we begin to change negative emotions to positive emotions, the sky gets lighter. And when we change the negative behaviors, then it's reinforced into positive ones because of the positive thoughts and the positive emotions. That changes our behaviors to something that's more positive. Our actions become more positive. Now the sun begins to be clearer. And it is in those moments that the conflicts that we face on the inside is no longer there. Because what is conflicts? Conflicts are different parts of us that are pulling us all in all directions. But when we no longer have the sense of conflict, we have what we call an empowering congruency. So we have inner congruence with ourselves. And all of a sudden, there isn't any more clouds. And we have the beautiful sunshine again. Right? And that is what we want in our lives. In the art of letting go, it's all about letting the sun shine. And we know for a fact that it doesn't matter if the clouds, that comes by, because the clouds are only temporal. The sunshine is eternal. So when we look at the sun, and if we don't see the sun for one day, we don't have to worry, because we know that the sun will rise again. In a rainstorm, we know that the sun will shine after the rain. So think about this, right? Whenever the things that don't go the way it should, whenever we experience disappointment, what do we do, right? Do we just beat ourselves up? Do we say, oh, que sera, sera, whatever will be, or do we, or will we rise up and say, hey, I'm going to let it go, right? Doesn't matter what people say, doesn't matter what the world says, I'm going to let it go. So this is what I tell people all the time. I said, one of the biggest things is this, right? Because every single disappointment that you ever experience in life, that is your greatest appointment. So if you want to write on some notes today, right? I love this this little statement here. Right, which I'm going to write here. So if you face any disappointments, every one of those disappointments is your very appointment, right, for greater joy, greater success, greater freedom. Because with each trial comes greater strength that is built upon, and with each tribulation there comes greater experience, as well as greater inner strength and beauty, right? So there's beauty in ashes as well. So let's take a look at the next one. Negative experience begets negative thoughts. So the first thing that happens is this, right? There are 4 different clouds that we talked about earlier, the negative thoughts. But how do the negative thoughts come about? It comes through our very first negative experience. So scientists did a study, and they were researching why is it that we as human beings tend to err on the side of negative. Think about this, right? When we read the newspapers, what do the newspapers tell us all the time? the newspapers today are telling us all kinds of negative news, right? You hardly find any newspaper that talk about the positive stuff. Every page you read, some doom and gloom. The stock prices are down, the oil prices are down. The trade wars, all kinds of things. Every single news, it's negative news, right? Can you imagine this? If a news agency were to present only positive news, their newspapers will probably not sell. So there's something about the human brain that's hardwired for the things of the negative. So we could do 10 things that are positive, but just one negative experience just sours the entire experience altogether. So one of the interesting things was found by this professor called Professor Teresa. She's from Harvard Business School, and she says this: the ability for a single negative setback to have double the effect of a positive experience in terms of memory recall. So what you're saying is this, right? When we try to recall an experience, because of one single setback, it has twice the effect as compared to a positive experience. So whenever we experience something negative, it seems to overpower and overwhelm all the positive that we build up. So think about this, right? When we were leading a project, or when we were doing a coaching intervention, there were times we did well, but just because of one session that didn't go as well as we thought it should, it affected our entire mood. It affected our entire belief, and affected our entire state. Another professor by the name of Professor Roy, he's from Florida State University, and says this: the ability to recall negative experience over more positive ones comes down to our hardwiring. So the psychologists discovered something interesting that's built into our human nature. We love the negative, right? Whatever positive comes our way, we tend not to see the positive. We look at the speck. I give you an example. Today, when all of us tune in to this Zoom conference, how many of us notice, the flaws first as compared to the things that are going well? Oh, perhaps some of the mics are not working. Perhaps some of the screens are not right. Perhaps some of the videos are not really in tune. So for us as humans, we tend to focus on the negative. So the entry point to the negative thoughts begin first with a negative experience. But in fact, are there such a thing as negative experience? Are experiences negative or positive? Well, the simple answer is this: they are none, right? All experiences are just experiences. Whether they are negative or positive, it's the interpretation that we have in our minds. We represent the world the way we wanted it to. So the same experience, the same picture that we see, we could interpret it in a negative way or in a positive way. And because of our prefix of negative and positive, it creates a whole line of effect. So the experience is neutral, but because of the meaning we give it, it creates a negative or positive experience, which begets a negative or positive thinking or belief, which begets a negative or positive emotions, which begets a negative or positive behavior or actions, which creates the conflict. And that is what is holding us back all the while. If we can go back in time, and if we can remove all those, if we can remove right from the start, which is the experience, and we can change the interpretation of the experience, we can change how we see life, and we can change the way we interpret life altogether. So think about this, right? How do we begin to remove these negative thoughts? Because if experience is neutral and we give it meaning for it to be negative or positive, then how do we remove some of these negative thoughts that's in our minds? Well, the simple answer is this: it takes a thought to replace a thought. So it takes a thought to replace a thought. So think about this, right? So when I ask you to think about this, right, I'm asking you to ponder, to just take a moment to chew on this just for a while, right? Why do I say that it takes a thought to replace a thought? Because truly, every single thought that comes to our mind, we let it fester on the inside. So if we nurture a negative thought, it will fester into negative behavior. If we nurture a positive thought, it will nurture into something positive. So let me share with us now the 8 A strategies of letting go. Now, this is where you want to take a pen and paper to write it down, because it's going to be really, really powerful. And I've used this on countless of clients all around the world. And it doesn't matter what cultures you come from or what backgrounds you're from. This applies to every single one of us. So this is something really practical and really useful for coaches, for trainers, for consultants, and for individuals who are wanting to make a difference in people's life. So are we ready for this? Now we're getting to the exciting part. So we have started off today by talking about, the art and science of why people are holding things back. And now we're going to move into the strategies of helping someone to let go of those things that are holding them back. The very first thing that happens is this, right? It begins first here. This is the massive strategy, right? It begins first at the attention level. What we focus on is what is apparent in our minds. So that first attention creates the experience. So the attention creates the experience. And because of the attention and experience, it creates a sense of awareness for us. And because of the awareness that now we have, it sets us on a state. And this state is what we call the anticipatory state. In the anticipatory state, we can choose three options. The first option is to accept, the second option is to adopt, and the third is to abandon this new state. And whatever we do with that will result in the new action, and with the new action, we assimilate that into our own lives, into our own belief system. And this whole cycle reinforces itself. So this is what happens in the alignment of an individual. You start with attention, which creates awareness, which sets you in a state of anticipation, which gives you three possible options, right? Either you accept whatever you've seen, the experience you've seen, you adopt a new set of belief or behaviors, or you abandon that, which creates a new action. And then once the action is executed, you begin to assimilate that new action into your life, or you assimilate the new adoption, or you assimilate the new abandonment of the thought. So how is this applied practically? So I'm going to share with us, right? This is the framework that goes behind the mind, but how does it happen practically? This is how it happens, right? It begins by just one thing. So today, I'm just going to share with all of us one practical coaching tool that you can use in your life and also all around your work. Or if you are not a coach yet and you're thinking about how can I improve the quality of my life, and this is something that you don't want to miss out. So once again, welcome everyone. For those of us who are tuning in, just coming in and joining us, welcome to Break Free, the Art and Science of Letting Go. So we've just started, we just shared with all of us a little bit of the art of what goes behind why we are holding things back, right? A little bit of science, what the researchers are saying in the field. And now we're moving to the practical side of things. How do we practically help someone to let go? So the number one tool that I will recommend all of us to use is this tool, the power of reframing. The power of reframing. This is one of the most understated tools ever, right? That can help coaches from around the world to improve the quality of their coaching conversations. So in this tool, I'm going to share with us two interesting insights. Reframing the context or reframing the content. So content reframing or context reframing. So a context reframing is the generalized behaviors and delete the behavior that takes place with a specific context. So what on earth am I saying? You might be scratching your mind right now. So what is context reframing altogether? Well, the context reframing, it's really simple to understand. So what it actually does is that you could ask yourself, what is another context in which this behavior is more appropriate? That's what you can ask yourself, right? In this context, what is another behavior that's most appropriate? So, for example, sometimes you've heard this statement before, right? When someone sees someone on Instagram or on Facebook, we often complain, that guy is just too rich, it's bad to be rich, it's bad to be too rich. We hear this all the time. So a context reframe of that statement is this. Well, the only way to help the poor is not to be one of them, right? So in that context, we're reframing that particular behavior. So another example is this. Sometimes we hear our colleagues or our friends saying, well, he or she is just too detailed, right? Every little thing she does or he does is too detailed, right? So it sounds negative, but we can change that behavior by saying, well, he would be a great proofreader. He would be a great architect. Well, there is a demand for such a detailed person in our profession. So that's one response you can give. Another example is this, right? So think about this, right? So sometimes we hear this in the office space. Well, she's too easy going to tell her staff off when they do something wrong. So a leader, may sometimes be seen as too easy, and she's not aware to be able to help to tell her staff off. So what can we do different? We can respond to the context differently, right? So think about how we can use some of this context and change, right, the generalized behaviors. That would help us to change the context. So when we talk about context, we hear a few keywords. Sometimes we hear the word, well, she's too something, 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 or he is too something, something, something. And sometimes we can hear the word, I am too something, 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 or I wish I could do more of this, right? So all we need to do in this reframing is to change the generalized behavior, right? So the presupposition is this, right? That this behavior is true for everything, which is not true. So we change the context, we can change the meaning it has. The second thing is the content reframe. That is giving another meaning to a statement by changing the focus of the content. So this, you could ask yourself, what else could this mean? Or what could be good about this? Or what did I learn about this? Right? What are you learning about yourself? Or what are you learning about this situation? So for example, we could say, when I have to do public speaking, I begin to feel anxious. So when you hear that statement, how could you content reframe that? We could ask a question like, what's good about this? What's something new you could learn from this situation? Right? Another example could be, wow, this webinar is too long, right? This webinar is like 40 minutes long. It's going an hour long. Well, the question, you can reframe it by saying, wow, I wish it was longer because I could learn so much more from this webinar. I wish there's more content. I wish there's something more. Right? Another example could be, I'm overwhelmed with all this, human psychology thing. I'm overwhelmed with all this practical coaching thing. Well, being overwhelmed is a good sign that you're about to have a breakthrough. Right? So sometimes we can change the content, we can reframe the content, or we can reframe the context. So by changing this reframe, we're able to change and influence the experience the moment the person first experiences, right? So we can change the experience for the person. Now, this works perfectly well in what we call the linguistic transform in the individual. So when he perceived the world based on the five senses, the input experiences that goes in, by changing this context or content reframe, we're able to change the interpretation of what he's experiencing. By changing that, we can change the meaning he gives, and we can change the thoughts, the negative beliefs, which will result in impact on his emotions, which will impact his state, which will also impact his behaviors. So just by changing this reframing, we're able to change the entire behavior. So think about this, right? How many of us have entered a room before, and we see our friends, right, in the office space, and suddenly, just for that day, you're not sure why, but nobody seemed to be talking to you. You're wondering if have you hurt anybody, or you're wondering if probably did you do something wrong? But during lunchtime, your friends come out to you and begin to sing you a happy birthday song. They surprise you. So the experience that you saw them chatting away by a corner was that they're talking something negative about you, was actually something positive. They were planning a birthday surprise for you. So when that experience changed, your entire behavior changed, your entire psychology and state changed. So just by a simple reframe can actually change a person's mind altogether. So in the coaching process, we are also constantly reframing our clients. We're reframing the way they give meaning to their world. And by helping them to see the world differently, they can leave the world differently, and they can experience the world differently. And by helping them see whatever they were bounded by are not actually chains, but actually are helping them to move forward to the next level, they can now see new possibilities and new options for themselves. So I'd like to end with this. When we look at this picture, I always love this picture because this was a painting by Jack Dawson. The painting is called Peace in the Midst of the Storm. When we look at this painting, most of us will see the lightning. We could hear the thunder. We could feel the rushing waves. And some of us could even smell the terrifying, scene. And sometimes it makes our stomach go with butterflies. But in the midst of the storm, could you see something interesting in this picture? Could you see someone in the midst of the picture? And it's right over here. In the midst of a storm, there lies a little bird who's nesting her young ones, her younglings. Even though there's storm all around her, the thunders are roaring, the waves are pouring, the wind is howling, but she would tell her younglings, hey, Mama's here. Don't be afraid, right? We are safe. And even though the storms are raging, but there's always peace in the midst of a storm. And this is context reframing. We could use metaphors like this to help our clients see the world different. Because how we see the world will determine how we will live and experience the world. So, that is breaking free, the art and science of it. Okay, so now we can open the floor to our panel of distinguished coaches, Blake, Gloria, and Kai, where we're going to pick their minds about their experiences with handling clients who are holding things back and how they actually practically help them to let go. So let's start with Kai.
Hey, you know what's interesting about that?
Yeah.
There's another point. Because what was in my mind is, if you have negative thoughts because you give your perception a negative meaning, then there's another point, because your body gesture will change. So your whole body stores the negative emotion. And this is something we can go deeper in another seminar, I think. What you can do with the physical stuff of it, how you can change also your emotions by changing something in your body and your mind as well. So just a little thought besides for me.
Yeah, that's really powerful, right? And one of the interesting things for those of us who are wondering what Kai is mentioning, and that's a little bit insight into the chain of excellence. Think about this: to change a state, something must happen, right? Just changing a state. If we could change our physiology, we can change our state. But to change that physiology, it begins with first our respiration. When we face danger, when we face trials, the first thing that changes is the way we breathe. We get nervous, we get anxious, and our breathing becomes shallow, which affects our physiology. But if we can change just that one thing, right, and we can reframe that just one moment, we could actually shift our entire state and our entire performance. Oh, that's really powerful insight, Kai. So, what is something that you can share with the rest of the people here about your experience in helping your clients to let go?
Well, first of all, is you have to accept reality. I have a lot of clients, and they are struggling with their reality, with their belief system, with something they have in their minds. And what I realized then is that thing which most people are struggling with is the conflict between what's in their mind, how the reality should be, and how the reality actually is. So, and if they can let go this conflict first, which means accepting the reality, however reality is. I mean, you want to have money, you don't have money, because on your bank account, there's only, $10. So in your mind, you're a great salesperson, and you should have a lot of money, and you should deserve this money, but in reality, you don't have money, for example. So most people fight with the reality and making stories in their heads why this is going wrong and why this is not their story. But the first point is accept reality, because then I can change my reality and I can change my thoughts. which is the most important thing. So don't struggle with the reality, because people all the time, a lot of people struggling with their reality.
Wow, that's powerful. Right.
So the first thing you can let go is the struggle inside your head. This is a really powerful thing.
So would be the first accept their reality and then to change the reality. Wow. And let's hear from Gloria. Gloria, could you share with us a bit of your experiences in helping your clients to who are holding back, and how you help your clients to let go?
Okay, something that I have found is like we have to go through different doors. And it's like when you're closing a cycle or letting go of something that is very important for you, like first, you open the first door, and that is the shock or denial, like at the beginning. Usually for the person, it's very difficult to accept that that is happening, and it's like your mind cannot understand why you have to make that change. So it's like there's a lot of resistance. But then when you go through that door, you open another one, and that's the door of anger. And when you feel guilty and you meet all these emotions and you try to understand things, why they happen the way they happen, and then you start like asking yourself if I would have done this or I would have done the other thing. So it's like there are many emotions, and also with the other person, why that person did that or why that happened that way. You even fight with life, and like you make many questions and you don't find the answer. But that's a natural part of the process. Like that's a moment we all need to go through when we are closing cycles or letting go of things that are very meaningful to us. But if we go through that door, then we find another door, and usually that door is a door of pain. Like when you start accepting that happened the way it was, but there's also that feeling of pain and where it's important to cry. So also, I think it's very important to do that emotional healing, where you learn to first forgive yourself, because we have the tendency to be very hard on us, and really forgive that we did what we could do at that moment, and the other person also did what he or she could do, or life was showing us to take another path, another way. So I found that it's very important to do that emotional healing. And for that, it's important to cry if you feel you want to cry or express your emotions, because what you repress, it starts to accumulate, and then maybe it can just explode in another moment. So it's very important to really see all those emotions and get them healed. And then it comes another door. What Kai was saying is like really to accept life as it is. Like there's a sentence that I really like that it says, what we resist persists, and what we accept transforms. So it's like accepting what it is, and know what with that the way it had, like we think like life should be different, but life is what it is. So it's really when we start seeing life and embracing life exactly as it is. And then we can go through another door, and it's the door where we evolve and where we learn from these experiences, and we know that what we let go really bring us new gifts for our present, and now we can grow and we can understand the lessons that life was teaching us through those experiences. So we repeat or we learn. So it's like we repeat the same experiences if we don't really learn to let go. So I think many clients ask about how to let go of the past, or how to keep going or move forward. So I found that these doors are very important to go through them, and also my experiences in my own life, like that's been very important. but sometimes we go back. It's not like there's doors you just go through. You sometimes you think you're already in the present, that you let everything go, but then sometimes there are things that try to move you back. But I think that's why coaching and all these tools that we use and the NLP techniques, it helps us to bring the mind in a state where we can really keep focus on what we really want and to move forward.
Wow, that's beautiful. And what happens when there's clients who seem, after trying to let go, but there's a relapse that happens, they go back to the original state. What then do you do with them?
Yes, I usually have found that when you start that process of growing and healing, then it's like you're in a layer, like you start moving forward, then you go back, but you don't go back as you were before. You're move back, but a little bit less. And then is when there are tools like, for example, powerful questions. So what am I resisting at this moment? What is that I'm not accepting at this point? And what is preventing me to move forward and to let go? So I think it's very important to make these powerful questions that coaching is very focused on showing us. When we make better questions, we find better answers. So it's like really have the good questions for ourselves and for the client to help him to find where he's stuck or where are the points that are blocking them. And it's also that we start having more tools like to watch the mind, like mindfulness. It's been for me a very powerful technique also to be more aware of our thoughts or where we are at every moment. So start like observing our minds, and there's like affirmation that I like, that it says like, I close cycles with love and gratitude, and I open myself to a new and wonderful moment. So it's like when thoughts from the past come, so say that and let it go. And so it's like it helps to bring the mind to the present.
Wow, that's beautiful. Now let's
very interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I love how you mentioned about about the beautiful mind, and that's something that we could explore even much more further in the later part of the conversation. About how sometimes our mind, if we don't nourish the mind can grow and fester different kinds of thoughts, which may benefit us or may steer us away from where we want to go towards. And sometimes I see this in clients when they are really successful on the outside, but they seem to struggle on other areas of their lives. So what we want at the end of the day is to live a life that's fulfilling, a life of purpose, and a life that is not just a particular area that is successful, but a rounded approach to life that we can find fulfillment in life. And I really love what you shared about being mindful about experiencing the beauty of life. Yeah.
Yes,
Kai,
yes.
Kai,
I think that a big challenge is to keep that balance.
the balance, yeah. And Kai, you mentioning something interesting over there. You want to share some?
Oh, I don't know if you can hear the dog behind me, but my reality right now is this dog should be quiet, but he isn't. Maybe I go to the dog and give him a hug now. But the other thing I want to mention is, people struggle with their life sometimes, and they can't let go. And the question is why? Because they are so used to not letting go. They are so used to struggling. This has become a pattern of these people sometimes. So what I try to do then is to change the environment first. I mean, you know the situation like in Portugal or in every other, you change your complete environment. You go on a journey and you look on the ocean, for example, and everything then is different because you have some distance in your mind. I mean, the struggles are still there because the struggle's in your head. But if you go every day to the same places and you have every day the same thoughts, You know, most of the thoughts we have every day are thoughts from yesterday or from the past, because these are not new thoughts. These thoughts are old thoughts, and we just repeat the thoughts all, again and again. And one important thing is, how can I change the process I'm thinking so that I can create new thoughts? Because with all of the old thoughts I have in my mind, with all of the old things I remember, I can't solve any problem in my world, because my world is just, I just remember a world of yesterday. It's not the real world today. I just have yesterday in my head and living in today. And this is the problem. How can I change my environment first, my perception? How can I change how I perceive the world around me? If I change that, I can open the mind for new ways. Jedi, what about your thoughts? What is your experience with clients on that?
Well, that's well, I've met different clients, and today, you know, I had the pleasure of meeting one of my clients, and what was interesting was this, right? We were just talking about children and how sometimes as children they model after us. And so what happened was this, right? This client of mine had different childrens, and you know, one older and one younger, and the older child, you know, was trying to avoid um, what the parent was doing, because although she enjoys the fruits of the labor, but she was trying to avoid the pain of getting those fruits. So in the pursuit of that, the child has now installed a new belief that, okay, well, I shouldn't be pursuing that because I don't want to have so much pain in life, or so much, I just want to live a simple, peaceable life. Whereas her younger sister has a different thought. She says, hey, why not, let's take this life and just let's live it to the fullest. Let me take over my parents' business. Let me take it to the next level. I'm not sure why my older sibling is not wanting to pursue that as well. So you notice, even as children, they are observing and modeling their world from what they're seeing from their parents, and they're modeling after them, and they're modeling the environment in which they're living. So the younger one would model after the older sibling, and the older sibling will model after the parents. So it's kind of interesting, right? So sometimes when I talk to my clients, I see a pattern. Whenever they are stuck, there's always a pattern that happened before in the past, right? A pattern that told them that they cannot do it. A pattern that says that, hey, you are XYZ, and because of XYZ, you can do it. Recently I read an article about a lady. So she did an experiment of two groups of people. Individuals who had brown eyes and individuals who had blue eyes. So she set up an experiment. I think she's a middle school teacher or something. She set up an experiment, and she said, hey, she treated these two groups of people differently, just by the color of the eyes, right? And say, hey, the brown eyes people are given more favors, they're given more respect, and suddenly the brown eyes attitude towards the blue eyes with that of they had a different perspective for the blue eyes. They start thinking that the blue eyes are people that are negative in the society, and the blue eyes people began to accept that as their world. And they begin to believe that they cannot achieve as much as those in the brown eyes. And because of that, now what seems so superficial of just having blue or brown eyes become real for them, because they've made the experience a reality in their own world. And in fact, having a brown or blue eyes has nothing to do with our personality. It's just a different amount of melanin in our eyes. So what the teacher was trying to do was this, right? To demonstrate that everything was there are no races in the human race. There's only one race that's called the human race, right? So in her efforts to stop racism, that's what she wanted to present. And in the same way, what is interesting is that because of the way our mind works and the way we give meaning to those thoughts, we begin to shape the very reality that we have in our mind as well. So if we can change that perception, we can change the reality, we can change our entire world. So let's ask Blake, right? Well, for those of you who don't know, Blake, is my brother here in the States. So we are running Jedi and Blake International, a wonderful coaching agency and training agency that helps transform lives all around the States. So, Blake, would you like to share with us a bit about how you help your clients to let go?
Yes, hi everyone. So it's very interesting, right? I really like what Kai shared and what Gloria shared, and you too as well, Jedi. And it, there's much to it, right? First accepting what it is and going through the process of change, right? They all are very effective and they are very important, right? But maybe if we start to simplify it a little bit more as well, right, for ourselves, right? And so what do you do after that? After you realize what's going on, you face your problem, right? What do you do? And how can you let go? And it's very simple, right? You have to decide on what you want instead, right? So most of us, we see our problem and then we face it and we go through that process. But then at the end, we start telling the same story over and over again. And what we do is we create this pattern. We create this pattern in our story that we tell of helplessness, of problems, right? And it's very simple, right? If we can just sit down and decide, what do I want my new story to be? What do I want my life to change into, right? And I think that's really where the shift happens, right? After we face our problems and our reality of where we're at. Now, how do we shift it, right? We sit down and we start to decide, what do I want, right? For me, I write it down, right? I write down a list of everything I want, right? And once I have that, okay, who do I need to become to have that, to get that, what I want, right? So I sit down and I start writing the values, my behaviors, right? And it ties into everything that you shared, Jedi, right? Your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors, they are all linked, right? And if you change one of those things, it can affect everything else, right? Now, what happens if we change it all, right? Well, what happens is we get total congruency, right? So you just taking a few moments in your day to write down, what are the thoughts that I need to have the life that I want, right? And what is the emotional states I need to have the life I want, right? You write that down, you have those two things. Now, what is the behavior that I need to conduct myself in, right? How do I need to act? What do I need to do in my daily life to have the life that I want? And you have those three, you can start creating magic. That's when quantum leap happens in your life, right? And then there's one more question, right? One more question is, who do I need to be, right? Identity is kind of an illusion, right? Because identity is really just in your mind. But if you know how to be resourceful and utilize identity, then you can create magic in your life, right? So your identity is not really who you are. It's who you decide to be. Your identity will box you in and give you the life that's aligned with what you say your identity is. So if you create these thoughts, you create these emotions, and you create these behaviors, right? You start building this identity for yourself. And when you do that, it'll reveal a life that's aligned with that identity, right? So the shift happens with you creating it, right? And it's really hard, right? Some people say, yes, I get it, we create it, but it's so much. How do I put it all together? There's so much information and so much things to do. Well, I usually tell my clients, just take a moment and start writing one by one, right? Well, start with your thoughts, write it down. What is my thoughts now? Become aware of it. What do I want my thoughts to be, right? There's so much magic in a simple pencil and paper, right? You just sit down and start writing. And even if you can't believe it now, this is the first step. Just start writing it down, right? And then you start writing down the emotional states that you need, right? If I want to help people change their life, I got to make sure that I'm empowered myself. I got to make sure that whatever I frame my life to be, I frame it empowering, maybe something that's aligned with what I preach to my clients, right? And then my behaviors, right? I cannot guide my clients and tell them that this is what they need to do to get these results. But yeah, I go home and do something opposite, right? I cannot lay down at home and waste my time. I cannot procrastinate and help others, right? Because it'll show, right? So I have to live the life that I preach, right? And it starts with you understanding what that life is and writing it down so your unconscious mind can get the blueprint. So when you write it down, there's magic that happens. What it does is it lets the unconscious mind know that you're creating it in this reality, this physical world, right? It starts with words, right? The words is really what dictates your experience, right? And that's why with coaches, us coaches, language is one of our most powerful tools, right? We have a course called conversational mastery, right? And that's what it's about, right? How to create your life with conversations, how to guide our clients out of their life into a better life just through language, right? So if you can write it down, you start creating magic in this world, right? So that's where the shift happens. And most times with my clients, that's what we do. We sit down and we create a well-formed outcome. Most NLP practitioners, neuro-linguistic programming coaches, they know the powerful tool of a well-formed outcome. And that's what we utilize with my clients, right? First, I change their state, and then we write down what do they want in their life, right? When we use the well-formed outcome. Now, after that well-formed outcome, what happens, right? You have a blueprint. But that blueprint is useless if you don't take action, right? Most people get overwhelmed with the action that they need to take because there's so much steps, right? And a lot of times what I tell my clients is, okay, we have it down, now we can let go of it, right? And this is the art and science of letting go. And it's simple. If you believe that it'll happen, you believe in this blueprint, you can let it go, right? Let it go and choose the very next step. And that's the only thing you need to focus on, right? The power of attention, right? If our attention is on so many steps and so many things, it gets thinned out, it gets spread, and there's very little magic there, very little power, right? That can really make change. So once you write it down, now you can let it go because it's saved on paper, and you direct all of your attention to the very next step. Yeah, everyone knows this powerful quote. It says, "Where attention goes, energy flows," right? So if you can put all your attention on this very next step, energy will flow there. And magic will happen. It will start to actualize in this reality, in this world, right? And that's how simple it can be. So after you create your plan, focus on everything on the next step, and it'll get done like that. And what do you do next? Look at the next step after that, right? It's that simple, right? So yeah, so that's how I help my coaches, or my clients and coaches, because we train coaches, right? How I help them create the life that they want in their reality. Yeah? So yeah, that's my share, Jedi, and I hope you guys find that very valuable.
Well, thanks, Blake. You know, one of the participants, Alex, has had a question. Right, he's asking. It sounds like self-coaching, right? Is this process applicable to help yourself as well? To self-coach.
Can you say that again?
So, one of the, I think Alex was asking, it sounds like self-coaching. So when Blake was asking the question, so is it applicable for us applying this entire process to self?
Yeah, are you asking me, Jedi?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, for sure. So everything we teach our clients, we actually empower them to do it themselves after we give it to them, right? And anything you learn with coaching from a coach, you can utilize it for yourself, right? And that's basically what we provide. We provide tools and strategies, right? And once you have those tools and strategies, you can utilize it over and over again with different areas in your life. So it's very powerful. Yeah. If you guys end up signing up for any coaching with us, that's what you're going to gain. You're going to gain these tools, right? We're talking about a lot of things. There's a lot of information here. Well, when you become a client of ours, you get these down in formats, right? In PDF formats, and you get to work with us one-on-one and live or online, and you start to see how these tools can really be utilized for yourself, right? And maybe you have family members or friends that you want to help. You can use it for yourself, and you can use it for the people that you care about.
Yeah. Well, that's really wonderful. So now we're coming to the most exciting part of the session, right? Hearing from Gloria, Kai, and Blake sharing the perspective of how they help their clients with their own experiences, letting go. Now we want to hear from the audience here. You know, what are some challenges that you're facing right now? whether it's your own coaching practice or maybe it's for your own self. What are some areas in terms of letting go or things that you're struggling with? Did the session make sense to you? Did the strategies help you? Or what questions you have? So now it's a time when we open the floor up, and I will, facilitate this session to arrow our guest speakers, to answer some of these questions that you may have. So you can ask the question in two ways. One, you can type it on the side here on the chat box. The second way you could do is you can unmute yourself when I release it for you to ask any questions that you have, and then we will jump in to answer your questions. Okay, anyone would like to ask? Okay, Alex, yeah, he raised his hand.
Okay, having listening to what Blake said just now, it kind of reinforced what, in the natural sense, it doesn't matter from where you are or where you're from. We as coaches, we have been taught a certain way to guide people. At the same time, we are coaches, and we also need coaches to guide us for the journey. Let's say for myself, I mean, I have my friends around me. My friends may need advice and guidance from me. At the same time, I also need them to advise and guide me. So we share suggestions, we share ideas along the same way. I think that's where the whole idea of coaching comes about. Just let me know if I'm on the right path.
Yep. Okay, so Blake.
Yes. Did I?
Yeah, Blake, go ahead.
I can answer that. So yes, you're on the right path, right? You got the right idea, right? No matter how much you know in this life, and no matter how much you're doing, right, you can live a life of excellence. There's always room for improvement, right? So all of us, me, Gloria, Kai, Jedi, we all have coaches of our own and mentors that help us, right? Because there's always windows and doors that we haven't seen yet, right? And that's the beauty of life, right? Life is about growing, really, a true essence of it, right? Growing so it can evolve and create new things, right? And when we understand that, we start to open up, right? And we start to get past this big obstacle that most of us experience in life, and that's ego, right? Maybe sometimes we start to learn a lot of things, and we become this great coach maybe for others, and then we stop listening to others because we know a lot, right? And that's where your growth stops. So if we allow ourselves, no matter how much people we're helping, we allow ourselves to look for help from others above, like through mentors or coaches, right? When we do that, we continue growing and we continue helping one another, right? And it's very powerful, right? I strongly believe in the things that I teach, right? And I have a lot of conviction, but I know that there's others out there that can offer more value to me, right? And no matter where we're at, no matter what we know, there is always more and there is always less, right? It's constant and it's infinite, right? And that's really where coaching helps us, right? It helps us see new perspectives in our life that we don't already see, right? And no matter how good it may look, how good it may seem, right? How good you're doing in life, there could be better. So I'm very excited and I get excited thinking about talking to mentors and coaches, because man, I just know, like, how much better can my life be with a new window opened up in my mind, and that will allow me to be that much more valuable for my family, for my friends, and for my clients that I'm coaching. So yeah, Alex, you're right on. You have the right idea with coaching others and getting coached yourself.
At the same time, me as a parent, as a father, talking to my kids sometimes, it's like I tell them, I was a kid before, but I was never a parent. Especially, being a parent at 30, between 30 to 40, and every year I'm a new parent. So, but I've been a kid where they are or where they are right now. I know how to empathize and sympathize with them, and and at the same time know what the tricks are. So as a coach, I think we are playing the same role. We empathize and sympathize with the coaches, and we try to relate and give as much insight to them, you know. But our depth of knowledge may not be there because we are not in every situation in life. Yeah.
Yes, I really like that. You know, I've learned, so I'm a parent myself, and I learned so much just by you know, this experience with my kids, and same as you, right? Because we were kids once before. All that means is that we can sympathize and understand them, right? And really, there's a never-ending journey as a parent, and I really utilize a lot that I learned from here with my clients, right? And I bring it into coaching, right? And it's interesting because as coaches, you know, like, you know, what makes the difference between a regular coach and an exceptional coach? Well, it's simple. A regular coach they have this illusion that they need to bring their experiences into the situation and direct the client, when really an exceptional coach leaves his experiences out, and they open up and understand, right? They listen, and that's why it doesn't matter how much you know. It doesn't matter about your experiences or where you are right now. All that matters is, are you fully present and engaged with what the client is telling you? When you can be fully present and just listen, just as you do with your kids, then it'll start to reveal itself. And all you're doing is helping the client unpack himself, right? When a client unpacks himself, then they learn more about themselves, right? So I take myself out of the context, and Blake with his kids and all his experiences is out. All I am is a listener. I'm a listener and maybe a questioner, right? I give questions to help the client understand what they're trying to say. And when I do that, magic happens. The client reveals himself to the conversation. Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now, anyone else have any questions for our panelists? You can ask, you can raise your hands, or you can unmute yourself, or you can leave a comment here on the chat box.
We have two great coaches, one from Colombia, one from Germany, with a lot of and information. So Gloria's been doing this for about over 12 years now, right, Gloria? So so she's had a lot of experiences and a lot of knowledge, and you guys can utilize these guys while they're here. Any questions you have, any curiosities with coaching and with just our topic of letting go, right?
Yes, even like something very important that we can apply to this topic is like we have different zones in life. So usually we're in our comfort zone where everything is known and where we know how to handle everything. And usually when we go through changes or when we have to let go of things, we have to get out of this comfort zone. So we get into another zone that is called the uncomfortable zone, because we don't know how things are going to be. So there's where we face uncertainty. And usually human beings don't like uncertainty. They like what there is known, what is sure, what's the next step, but sometimes in life you just you don't know what's going to be next. And like, for example, if you finish a relationship, so you were in a comfort zone because you knew how it was, how the other person was, and then you're like, okay, open to the world, you don't know what's gonna happen. And usually in this uncomfortable zone, many fears come. or if you change a place where you were living, you move to another place, or you finish a job, you find a new one. So you have to let go the old, and you're in a different zone. But there, when you're in that uncomfortable zone, if you really are able to move forward, then you get into the learning zone. So it's when you really can make good questions, like Blake was saying, like you really start looking yourself in a different way. So what do I want now? What can I learn from this? And in this learning zone, you're more expanded, and you find that uncertainty is also the field of all possibilities. So really change or letting go is to open ourselves to many things that we didn't know before, and it's like it makes us grow, and then we can really expand ourselves. And so I think in coaching, what we do is really to expand our minds and see other possibilities. And if we grow and go beyond this learning zone, we get into the extraordinary zone. So it's when we take all these learnings and really take our life to another level. Because we learn from our mistakes from the past, and we also see ourselves in a new way. So in this extraordinary zone, we really start creating what we really want. And if we go beyond, then we reach another zone, that is the magic zone. So in the magic zone is where we really connect with life and the universe, or that higher intelligence, and we really start seeing miracles, or we really start connecting with the right people at the right time, and really seeing the answers. So it's really magic happens. And it's like we're here, we're connecting in this intention, and it's like, I think that was part of that magic way that life works many times, when we're open to see new possibilities. So I think coaching and all this is really a way to open ourselves up and really start seeing other options in life, and see life from a new perspective.
Wow, it's beautiful. Now, so we're coming to this section of the program where we always do what we call a coaching intervention, where we do a live coaching demonstration that we apply the strategies that we shared today for demonstration, and so that you can see how it's applied, and you can also learn from some of this experience that we can in this session. So, well, tonight, is there anyone here who would like to experience a coaching conversation, and perhaps you're struggling with something that's holding you back for a period of time, and you want to let go of it? So do you have a situation that there's something that seems to hold you back, but you want to change that and you want to let go of that? So if you have, you can raise your hands, or you can just press the chat box here so that we know.
A free coaching session with Jedi.
This is your best chance, right? Must make full use of it. This is where most people are really, really shy, because you're now staring and you will be in front of so many people. And sometimes that may scare you. Maybe that's what's holding you back, right? To raise your hands. Okay. So tonight, I encourage all of us to let go and just enjoy the process, because, yep, it really will transform your life. Okay. So while you are thinking about that, about thinking about if you have something that's holding you back and you would like to let it go, right? But we are going to do a live coaching demonstration. As you're thinking about if you are the one who has wants to experience this coaching, well, just raise your hands or put your comment here. And meanwhile, while we wait for you to think about any challenges that you have in mind in terms of holding back, let me share with all of us here some things for you to consider. So this is the break free for those of you joining us, right? It's break free art and sense of letting go. So in this in this week, we're talking about letting go, right? So we have a whole series of topics over the next couple of weeks on the mega topic of breaking free. So we're going to explore healing, we're going to explore mindfulness, we're going to explore setbacks, we're going to explore phobias. So all through the next few weeks, and we're going to invite different special guests to tune in from different parts of the world to share with us their experiences as well as strategies and practical tools to help us on this journey. Now, so some of you will be asking, what's next, right? What can I do after this, right? How can I improve my my coaching practice, or how can I improve myself after this? Well, some of the things that you can do is you can join our inner circle. We have a coaching experience, break-free coaching experience in the circle, where we take you on the 12 weeks break-free coaching program, and you learn the tools and strategies to help create the break-free experience for your clients. And we also have a 6 months total freedom now program and a 12 months ultimate break-free experience. So these programs are mainly to help create that experience for your clients, for them to for them to live a break-free life, to let go, to experience freedom, to experience complete wellness and wholeness. And for those of us who wants to, for all of us who are in this chat today, you are given a special access to our Facebook group, a secret Facebook group, right? Where if you want to scan in the QR code or you type in on this Facebook group, Break Free the Coaching Experience, inside the Facebook group, we will release the PDFs that you get to see here, a workbook from today's Art and Science of Letting Go. So you get a free copy of a workbook that it comes together with the video. So it will be uploaded all in that Facebook group. So do join it, right? So inside there, and you get to experience some amazing content that we will post regularly, or to help people from all around the world to experience deeper level of coaching. Also, don't forget to join us for our coaching experience, both the personal mastery and conversation mastery, at our upcoming events. So do take a note, right? Our upcoming events in Arizona is going to happen in August, in Singapore, in Arizona, in Germany, right? So we're going to have the coaching sessions in Germany, and we're going to have one in Colombia also in Q4 or Q1 of 2020. So stay tuned for the dates. We'll all be publishing it in the group chat as well. Okay, so let's come back to all of us here. Okay, so who here have a issue that you want to work on? That you are this particular area in life that's holding you back and you want to let go. Anyone?
Yeah. Sorry, Jedi.
Yeah.
Just a question.
Yep.
You mentioned phobia. So does this session kind of cover phobia too?
Okay, so the phobia will be covered in the next few sessions. So every theme will have one topic. So phobia is a really interesting topic. I think I did one session on phobia before. We had a live person who had a phobia, and we did a live intervention here to show you how to help a person with a phobia, to coach them using two ways, right? One is using the ICF coaching competency way, traditional coaching way. The second way we demonstrate is also how to use an NLP approach of helping a person experience the overcoming phobias, right? For fears. Yeah. So there are two ways you will see over the next few weeks as well.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a rather unique phobia in a sense.
Okay, what's your phobia?
As much as I love flying, I got a fear of heights.
Okay. And it's only when you're taking off the plane, or is it when standing off the ledge?
I think the fear of heights was standing off the ledge. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's almost like I can get in an aircraft. I can even fly it, but standing off the ledge is a no for me.
Okay, but on the plane, it's okay for you. On the plane, it's okay for you.
On the plane, it's fine.
Okay.
Even if I'm to be a pilot, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
But if I'm standing on the edge of the building, or I'm looking down from a building, or from any heights of any structure, I have a problem with that. Yeah. Even if that scenario is being showcased on a TV, for example.
Yep.
I think, let's say, for example, somebody is shown on TV climbing on great heights. I will have a certain fear for that person climbing height.
Okay. Oh, that's a good issue to work on, right? We got to reserve that for our phobia session. It's going to be very, very exciting. So you will be one of our test subjects.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a real thing, phobia, and different people got different kind of phobia. Some of them, there's this lady that I worked with. She had a phobia of taking escalators. Yeah, so all her life she couldn't take escalator. She has to find a lift. If not, she cannot get up to the next level. Yeah, and it's a real thing that holds people back. So there are some tools that we use to help a person overcome that. Okay, so well, anyone has any issues or challenges in things that are holding them back, or maybe your clients have them and you want some help in terms of how to go about solving the problems. Okay, if not, I've listed the Facebook group link in the chat box, and I will do so as well. You guys can take a look at the link as well. So you show you the link again. This is the link, right? So just QR code it, or just type "break free the coaching experience" and then click in to join the group. We'll be sharing lots of amazing content there, and also our next upcoming phobia workshop as well. So it's a break free theme. We have lots of interesting topics that will be coming up. So now, what we're going to do is that we're going to wrap up today's session by asking, going around with our different panel of coaches and guest speakers from around the world, and to leave us with just one thought and something that we can take home from today. So we're going to start with Kai. Kai, would you want to share with us, for all of us here, one thing that we can take home from today's session?
If I have to share one thing before my accu is off again, I would say just observe your life in the next 3 days. Just write down what are your patterns, what are you doing every day, and then just start to do something different. So to gain a different perspective.
Okay.
Because we did this the last weeks, we met each other. We met in a different perspective, and this was something really valuable for everybody. And even as a coach, it's so high valuable if you can change your perspective.
Okay, thank you, Kai. And let's hear from Gloria. One thing that you would like to share with all of us.
Okay, to really look at the past, or to look at the things that we need or want to let go, and say to them, thank you for everything you have showed me, and thank you for letting me grow from these experiences, and really visualize that we take from the past only what makes us grow, and we can release anything else, pain or regrets or guilt, and just take from the past what makes us grow. And every time we find a thought that tries to hold back to the past, then we say, I release it and move forward. It's like, or I bless this thought and I move to a new moment of my life. And really starting focusing on all the gifts and all that we can offer to the new moment, so we can have our mind more focused on the present, of the gifts that we have, of all the blessings, and really admire what we have in the moment, and try not to keep the mind focused on the past. Just let it go and focus on what we really want to experience. Because what we focus on expands. Always focus on what we want to expand in our present. And it was really good sharing with all of you, and of course with Clay, Kai, you, Jedi. Yeah, this is great.
Oh, thank you, Gloria. Always really wonderful to have female energy, right? And really lovely to have you on board with us. So, well, my brother Blake, right? Well, for those of us that do not know, me and the Blake, we're working together, and we have something amazing coming up that's going to impact many people in Arizona, in Miami, in New York. So we're going to go to different parts, and of course Guam, right? So stay tuned because we've got something exciting lined up for people in Guam. And Blake, come share with us some of your thoughts.
Yeah, some thoughts on that. Maybe you guys can take from this, right? Because there's a lot of information here, right? And Kai shared about really observing yourself in your life, and that's really good. And Gloria shared about being present in the moment, and it's very powerful because that's really where you start to make decisions. And what I would leave you with is be aware of your decisions, right? Life is basically just your decisions, right? Everything you decide to do, the thoughts that you decide to think about, the emotions you decide to feel, and the actions you decide to take part in, right? So choose your decisions wisely, right? Create the life that you want and decide what it is you're going to think about, feel, and do in your life. And decide the life that you want for yourself. And that very, very simple, right? So if I were to leave you with just one simple thing is decide and follow through.
Oh, that's a powerful, right? Decide and follow through. So, well, we want to thank everyone here, for taking time out and to be part of this journey together on Break Free. And we want to appreciate all of us, right, for sharing this evening with all of us, whether it's evening, morning, or afternoon for all of us in different parts of the world. So thank you for being part of this journey on Breaking Free. So for the next session, we're going to be having it's on Notice Day, 24th of July, right? We're going to be posting this on our Instagram. So follow us. I'm Jedi Blake International, Gloria, Kai, right? So follow all of us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, right? We'll post this everywhere. And of course, stay tuned for the next topic that we're going to have, right? Maybe it's phobia. Maybe, right? So, well, stay tuned. If you have topics that you would like us to share, and you want to be part of this whole session, just feel free to leave us a message, and we'll be more than happy to work with you. And well, thank you everyone for an amazing session today. And we hope that the session has been really useful and has provided you with the strategies, the tools, and some practical tips on how you can actually help your clients to live a let go life. Right? So from us here at Jedi Blake and Gloria and Kai, wish you a wonderful evening, wonderful morning, and wonderful afternoon all around the world, whichever part of the world you're in now. And we will definitely put up the different time zones in the next session as well, so you can keep track of the different time zones. We will probably stick to the same time zone, so all of us are on the same day, so it's not so confusing. Do remember to log into the Facebook, join us on the Facebook group, because we're gonna be posting this video there and some exclusive content over there as well. And thank you, Dong. Right, thank you so much. We met Dong in Portugal, and hopefully to see you in Croydon, London, at the end of the year. And yeah, we look forward to having more engagement with all of us. And for my friends in Singapore, we'll be seeing you tomorrow night. Right, so it's a power pack session for all of us here. Thank you all. Wish you all the blessings that you can have for this week and this day forward. Have a good rest, and we'll see you soon in the next session.